Now playing the Hook and Bridge podcast.
I fucking love Kesha. I'm telling you, I'm the worst person to have a podcast. I can barely speak.
Oh my god, I love this!
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Harley, joined by my co-host, little sister Taylor.
Hello, hello.
And super special guests on today. We have Will and Dango from the band Amber Pacific today. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful.
We're good. We're glad to be here from different parts of the country, but thanks to technology, we're all here in the same place.
Yeah, right?
It's
Yeah.
a wonderful thing.
I think we're all three in different locations.
Yes.
So I first heard of you guys a long ass time ago, like long time ago. I grew up a gamer, so when it was pitched to me that you guys were able to come on the show, I was like, "There's no way this is the same band that I'm thinking of." And sure enough, you guys were on Burnout 3 on the track list with some amazing bands, man.
Yeah.
Burnout 3 and Burnout Takedown had two of like the best video game like EA emo like easy core track listings. It was just perfect. It was the perfect like time too, because I would have been like 10, 11. So it was right in that time of like, oh, this is the shit that I'm interested in right now.
Nice.
It was you guys. It was like Fall Out Boy, All American Rejects. You were in good company.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was awesome, man. I remember playing that game and like playing through the races and stuff and having that song playing in the track while I'm playing the game. So it's really, really cool to get to actually sit down and talk to you guys.
That's cool, man. We've had a lot of people discover us through that video game, and we had no idea at the time like how much of an impact that would have being on it. We just thought that was cool, and like we desperately just wanted a copy of it. And so like that was like as far as we were looking, was like, man, this is cool. I want to hear ourselves on the game. But so many people come up and say like, oh, you guys are on the video game, which has just been super cool.
Now, have you guys played Burnout?
Dango, you played
I'm not
Burnout?
a gamer, so I haven't played anything since Nintendo 64, maybe, or Super Nintendo. I don't know. So definitely I have not. But probably the other guys have.
It's kind of funny. Like, I feel like I remember getting like a copy of the game, and I'm pretty sure I popped it in and played it right when we got it. But right now, because it's been so long, like I can't actually remember if I did or I didn't. So let's just say that I did.
Yeah, that's safe.
It was awesome.
It's such a core memory for me. Like I that was like one of like the first games that came with my Xbox 360. I like got that for Christmas, and then it was like Burnout 3 and like Hitman, and I was like, okay, well, I have these two games for the next
I forgot about Hitman.
Yeah.
Hitman's good.
Yeah, so I was super excited to play it. And like I said, I've always loved music, so just the track list on those games always was so good. So
that was kind of a cool time for games in general. I remember like I'm kind of like a college football and Madden guy. And I remember on those games too, like there was even bands from our genre that were popping up and stuff. Major League Baseball was another one that had a lot of
like Alice in Chains and stuff.
Yeah, it was a cool time for music to be on video games. I remember that much for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about the song Always You. What was like the inspiration behind the actual song itself? Are either one of you the lyricist on the song? Did either of you write the actual lyrics for it?
Yeah,
Will is the main writer of the band, so every song has his writing on it pretty much to a large majority.
This is true.
So what was it
that
like?
song was like
that
was one of the earlier songs that I wrote, and it was pretty much while we were still in high school. Yeah, some of us were still in high school, and it was just about like making the moments like last forever, like good times last forever, right? It was supposed to be like a fun song. I think there's always like an underlying like tied to relationships for some reason in a lot of the songs that I write, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the song's about a girl, but sometimes I just blend worlds when I'm going through things. And but anyways, like that, we had recorded that song for an EP, and then we ended up putting it out again, and just changing a couple things. And that's where like Dango's impact on the band has been really cool, is that when he first got with us and started working on things, like our entire dynamic changed as a band. And honestly, like he always supports me in my writing and talks about it in these interviews and stuff. But when he came into the band, like that changed the trajectory of Amber Pacific for sure. And I don't tell him that enough, so I'm telling you right now. But
Man,
like he brought this like punk influence that we have now, and he brought like a level of professionalism that we did not have before, you know, like taught us how to like play to a click track and like all these things, because we were just high school kids. We didn't really know any better. And
right.
So a lot of our success can be attributed to him coming in and kind of like shaping us up.
Now, so you guys have, I mean, at this point been together a long time, but the band itself has seen a lot of different members come in and go and do new things, right? How has that journey influenced the sound over the years? Because at this point, you guys have been around since what, like 2002, roughly 2003?
Yeah, that's pretty much when we kind of got started on things.
Right.
And so, you know, like kind of tying back to what I was just saying, like Dango was really the first piece of the puzzle that came in. He was like our first big change in our original lineup. And we saw what that did. And so, yeah, every time you bring somebody in, it introduces a new dynamic to the band that we maybe didn't have before. Mostly like the guitar, the other guitar player, Justin, when he left Amber Pacific, that spot, we never seemed to be able to fill it with the right person. It was almost like it was just waiting for Justin to come back at some point. And he has since like returned over the last couple of years playing with us and doing shows and stuff. And it's always felt like the most normal and natural with him. So we are, I think, the happiest when it's us as a core doing it. But we've had some great people in the band before. We went through some really great guitar players. One of our dear friends, on Truth and Sincerity, just like added so much to that album, from like a guitar solo standpoint and leads and things that like I could never play, but she's great on it. And so, yeah, it's been cool. And then obviously with Virtues, it was an entirely different vocalist, which changes everything. Like it changes everything. You can, because Matt has a specific range and a specific style, and so I can write to that, and then Jesse's voice was so different, that I was able to kind of do some things differently as a writer, which was kind of cool and fun. Obviously, like the fans spoke without saying anything, and they wanted Matt, and we knew that. We just wanted to keep making music. We didn't want to like call it quits when Matt left, back in like 2009 or 2010, something like that. So that's why we continued on.
Yeah.
So
and I want to say when we had that transition, like Amber Pacific was definitely Will and Matt and I and some different guitarists, and Greg, our original bass player, was there for a lot of years. But then, after Matt left, we really in turmoil. Do we stay? Do we keep doing the band? So we did the singer search. Do we try to sound like Matt? Do we try to go a totally different direction and have a new sound? So when we found Jesse, he was a great guy and great singer. And, we went a different route, and it didn't go as well with our fans, but we put out a record that we were proud of. The songs are great. It sounds great. It doesn't sound as much like Amber Pacific, but it was just another, I guess, chapter of our band. And then after that, we were sort of like, well, we're probably not going to do this unless it's the original lineup again. So in 2014, we all talked about what if we do another record on our own, put it out and have fun with that and see how it goes. And that kind of a decade ago was sort of what brought us to the idea of, well, what if we still do some shows, every year we could do a handful here and there. And then it really is, as we've come around this 20th anniversary this last year, it's just been, that's where the excitement of all of us being back together. And then, well, what the heck, we might as well just do a fifth album and do this again. So the music's kind of changed, come and gone. different seasons of Amber Pacific, but I think at the core, especially with Will being the writer, it's always going to sound like that. And now having Matt back with his vocals and Will's writing, and then hopefully what I bring to the drum side, like it's still no matter if it sounds 20 years later or not, you're still going to hear Amber Pacific because you hear these elements that you heard of us as kids, but now we're adults doing the same thing.
Right, right. And so it's really interesting that you mentioned your 2014 album. So like for me, your journey as an artist, right, is like that early stuff I was a huge fan of. And then I was one of those fans that like kind of dipped off. And then your 2014 album was one of the first albums that I downloaded on like my old it was like an iPhone 5. Which was let me see here. What was the name of that album? I thought I had it pulled up here, but I might not.
Called The Turn.
The Turn, yeah. The Turn, yeah. I have the song that I really love from that album, "Don't Let It Fall Through."
Right.
Was like the song that I was like, this is them right here. But yeah, man, that album was awesome. And then so let's talk a little bit about like, so you said Matt left the band. From what I understand, he left to like pursue an education degree, right? Is that kind of, and then he came back. Is he still involved in that movement, or was it like this was my journey for now and I'm coming back to the band full force?
Oh no, he's very much still a teacher right now.
Oh, really?
And we have just been able to make it work. I mean, between all of our jobs and things that we do outside of Amber Pacific, we made this year, I don't think there was really not many shows where we were like, we just can't make this work with our schedules. We pretty much made everything work that we could. And it's kind of amazing with how many different things we're doing to be able to still get together and play on weekends and things like that, or even do little small runs with like Hawthorne Heights and Mest and stuff like that. So
yeah. It's so funny, man. Like we've been doing this a while, and it's so funny. Like the perception from a fan is that like, oh, they're living the dream. They're out there playing music every night and then going home and just hanging out, just living it up. And then interviewing these bands like
and they're like, we have a full-time job.
Deep Blue
like,
something,
yeah.
The guy that wrote Breakfast at Tiffany's, he's like, yep, I'm a college professor and I've been doing that for 30 years. And then we had Aranda on and he was like, yeah, I own a construction company and I do that Monday through Friday. And then I tour the East Coast on Saturday and Sunday. So it's always interesting, that perception from the fan point of view compared to the reality is like, you guys are like the rest of us. Like music is your passion and you still have responsibilities on the other hand that, you know, you're able to fulfill that responsibility and that life and live that lifestyle. But also you guys have been putting out music for 20 years. Like it's crazy, man. It's so cool to see like the ability to do both is so important.
Yeah. I think ideally, like there's just a threshold for bands where you can do it full time without having all the stuff on the side, or you can't. And we just like, we're just shy of that point where it's like, we could really like commit to it and do it without having anything else going on. But the truth of the matter is like, we have families, we have kids, we have, things that we need to support outside of Amber Pacific, and we are not rolling in the dough. We're not touring in a tour bus and like, we're just not there. So we have to be realistic about it and be smart about it. And the goal though is like continue making the music, continue building our fan base, and always trying to get to a point where maybe you could look at it as something that you could do a little more versus all the other stuff.
But part of you would miss it, right? Like part of you would down the line be like, I wish I was still.
Well, I don't know. I've never thought about it that way. Dango's doing it full time. Like he is a musician through and through, and it's impressive what he's able to do there in Nashville. He's like one of the busiest people I know, and but he loves it, and it's a passion, and it's cool that like for him, he can speak to it. He's doing it like full time.
Now, Dango, what did you do prior to becoming like a full-time musician?
Nothing really, because I went straight out of college and moved to Seattle to join Amber Pacific right when they were signing the record deal. So that was the beginning of my career, and those first 6, 7, 8 years of touring were like my first real touring experiences. But I had a degree in music here in Nashville. So when the band slowed down after the era with Jesse and we took the break, I moved back to Nashville because I thought I can keep playing, I can tour. I was already teaching lessons. So every week I teach lessons. I've got this studio, I record drum tracks for people, but really touring is still my full time thing. And I play for the singer Creed, Scott Stapp. That's been my gig for about 10 years.
Wow.
But when I first moved back here, started playing rock and country, I played for a big Christian band called Red that's real heavy.
Oh,
Played
yeah.
for Fireflight. I played for Super Chick. And then a ton of country artists over the last 10 years, like Here and There. And Sonic Flood, that's a big worship band that's been around for a long time. So I tour with all those different people at different times, or I have for like a year or two and then moved on to something else. But then when I'm in town, I'm hustling like teaching lessons, or like I have a gig tonight, so I'm going to go downtown and play at 10 o'clock downtown in Nashville. You can't really do that anywhere else in the world, but in Nashville, there's always music. And because I've learned all this country and rock, I can go do that. I can go home for family dinner tonight. I've been in my studio teaching. I'm changing a drum head right now for my gig tonight, but I'm going to go play till 3 in the morning. And then I'm going to get up and do family all day tomorrow and then go play tomorrow night. And I do that every weekend when I'm not on tour, because it's kind of my day job when I'm home, is that I can always keep gigging and keep making money. It's a hustle. It's self-employed. There's no benefits. You really have to be driven and organized. But if you can do it and you can avoid the sex, drugs, and rock and roll and all the partying and keep going, you can have a living doing this. But it's taken me 20 years to really get where all my plates spinning are all playing music and teaching music.
Right.
So I enjoy it. But then I look at the other guys with more what you would call normal jobs. They work just as hard probably, but they have what you consider normal hours, sort of. Will, though, is an exception as well, because he's a pilot. So he'll travel for days at a time and then be home days at a time. So he also has a very unique schedule that's not totally family friendly. But like all of us, we all have kids, we all have wives that are supportive of us. And that's what makes it work. And that's why when we talk about Amber Pacific, it's like you can't explain to people how cool it is to have a brotherhood with guys that you've known 20 years. And the 5 of us that are out there, we don't care if we're the best band, the best musicians, the best whatever. We know we can have fun. We can play songs that we played and wrote, and people sing them. And that's just like, that's so rewarding. Even if you're not Foo Fighters or U2 or Green Day, you're still like, man, there's 200 kids that care about our song. And that's so rewarding.
Yeah. I mean,
100%.
that's what music is about,
Yeah.
man. Is like, I was a musician for,
You are a musician. I feel like once you're a musician, you're always a musician. That doesn't
You
go.
don't really lose it. That's true.
I had like a small music career in Ohio and loved to write. And that was like my big thing was like, I want more than anything to write a song that when someone hears it, they can say, wow, that helped me get through blank, or that really made me think of this time in life. And, that's so important. And that's what music is about, is developing that community of like-minded individuals that can hear what you're putting into the world and say, hey, that's me. We're the same in that sense, and that's truly what all of this is all about. And that's incredible, though, that you've got to be one of the most well-polished drummers in the industry, right? You are just non-stop.
I'm working on it all the time, but there's a lot of guys that do what I do. I just am thankful that I can still do it and am versatile enough to play enough different stuff where people call me for country and rock and pop and worship. But no, I'm not going to say I'm in some elite category. I'm just thankful that I'm still doing it.
I would disagree.
Humble.
I was going to say that.
That's a very humble answer.
The more humble the answer, the better.
He actually is a pretty humble dude, but he is also very good at what he does. So
yeah,
he needs to give himself more credit.
Well, I'm so thankful. But I live in Nashville, and the reality is like I'm teaching students all the time who can blow me away on some stuff, and I see kids coming up, and I see younger guys, and I'm like, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. How are you this good? So. There's always better people coming all the time. So, and the cool thing is music's not a sport, though. It's not like you have to be the fastest or the best. Like music is so artistic and personal that you just want to be good at what you do and you want it to impact people,
As a guitar player, and I'm sure, Will, you can agree, every time you hit a certain level, there are 10 more people that have just went past your level. And with the invention of social media and YouTube and everything, it's just pages upon pages of people that are like, you're so much better than I'll ever be. So
seems to be the case for me ever since I started.
Yeah, right. It never goes away.
I like I like to hold down the bottom side of guitar players so that I can let other people be better. So
yeah. You walk so they can run.
I purposely just suck as much as possible every time we play. And it, most of the times I don't disappoint.
So I do want to touch on how amazing it must be to work with Scott Stapp, but I first want to talk about the new single, Sink or Swim, is so good, guys. It's incredible.
Thank you very much.
You've been able to capture that old sound that you guys have stayed true to throughout the years, and kind of modernize it in a way that like the melodies feel more modern pop punk and less 90s pop punk, if that makes sense.
That's awesome.
I don't know if it's a guitar tone situation or just the actual composition itself. Maybe you guys just have been doing it for so long that you've been able to kind of capture a new sound on this latest album. But when does the new album come out officially?
Yeah, so I don't think we have announced a specific date, but I could just probably say like we're aiming for early 2025, probably sometime in February.
Awesome.
It's soon for sure. Like it's almost here.
Yeah, I mean the record is done. It's like turned in. We're working on artwork and things like that right now, just kind of doing the final touches to it. So it will be ready to go. Initially we were like really anxious to just get it out, but we have to also weigh the fact that like it's the holidays and people just they're just not paying attention to music, right? They're kind of like in their Christmas vibes and with family and stuff. So we're gonna shoot for like early next year to try to get people's attention again. And but yeah, record's done. And Daniel can talk to like the sound that you're talking about. We did something entirely different for this album. So about that.
We did, and we're super proud of it. So thank you for saying that. We were like, let's do Amber Pacific, but sound like 2024, 25, the best we can. Sound like a band that's done this a long time. So we just went a different production option. We recorded in Nashville here with a producer that I work with a lot, doing a lot of country music, but he's a huge pop punk fan. He's worked with Simple Plan, and he's like, come up in our scene. So he had mixed we had done some some singles over the last couple of years, and he'd helped us on some stuff. So I was like, let's see if this guy would be great for it. And he was. His name's Sean Rogers, really good buddy. And so we just said, let's try to make this the most modern sounding, but true to Amber Pacific pop punk record. We don't want to go totally out of left field and be like, what band is this? But we also don't want to sound like 1999. We want it to be like, let's be fresh. We just said, I can't wait for people to hear the record, because we said, let's add as much cool, different production that we haven't done in the past. We've always had strings, but let's add other stuff in there. And so there's just some cool gang vocals. There's some cool percussion. There's some cool instruments that have never been on our kind of record. We did several different styles on this record. It's still very us. I don't want it to sound like, we're putting out a jazz record. It's not like that. You're going to hear it. No, it's us. But we took some liberties we never have, because in the past we were probably too scared or unfamiliar with stuff. We said, let's take all these influences, put them together, make it our thing. And Sean's so good at making every song kind of sound like a hit or a single. Like that's his specialty. So it really sounds like a whole album of songs. You go, oh, that's the single. Oh, wait, no, this one's the single. And everybody kind of says that about their own record. But I would defy you to listen to this record and say, is there a track that's not super catchy? Because I think that's my opinion on it. I don't know, Will, how do you weigh in on that?
Yeah, I think I would agree. Like it's definitely, it's different sounding than a lot of our last records. We always kind of used the same producer for the first couple, Martin Fever, who was awesome. He was great. He was a mentor for us early on, and would not be where we are without him. So by far, like, great. This one, we wanted to switch it up. In 2014, we kind of did a lot of that record just on our own with the help of another friend in Washington, Brad Miranda. And this time we wanted some extra ears on it, which is, where Sean came in, and he's always been a fan. So we got to do that. And yeah, Dango's absolutely right. Like every song on there, I think we're all just really proud of the whole thing. and the way that it sounds. And it is hard. Everyone has different favorites on the record, which I think is a good thing.
That's awesome, man. And so, first off, it's so interesting that you say Simple Plan, because I literally had Simple Plan Iconic written on my notes here. I don't know for sure who produced that Simple Plan record, but when I heard Sink or Swim, it reminded me of Simple Plan's Iconic, the song.
Sean would love to hear that, so because he's a big Simple Plan fan. But the funny thing is, the first 2 singles that are out that I think are both great, like neither of those are my favorite song on the record, and I just think there's more singles to come.
I'm so excited to hear this record. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're gonna like it, man. If you're a fan of our band, I think it's still within the world of Amber Pacific, but it also introduces some things that we haven't done before, and that was kind of the goal. And I've never been a fan of like taking big departures from what you sound like. You know, people like you for a reason, so why are you going to go flip it upside down?
Right.
But there are things, like we have a track on this album called The Honest Truth, which has got like reggae vibes to it, kind of like a nod to some old Goldfinger like ska stuff without horns. But then it mixes in like our own influence with it, and so it's so fun, man. The whole thing's super fun. I gotta stop turning sideways. I gotta figure that out.
Yeah, I mean we've never done anything at all that you would even remotely say that sounds ska influence, and this one song does. It's still pop punk, but it hits like a Goldfinger. Or
I mean, that makes me even more excited. I was a big like '90s ska guy too, like Cherry Poppin' Daddies, Scatman Jones.
Yeah, so it's got a little.
It's not that extreme,
but yeah, it's not like super ska. It's just
not like Mighty Boss Tones.
Like some clean guitar, like upstart things where it's like we just haven't done anything like that before. And then we've also got a song called Meant to Be, which is like we refer to it as a Flogging Molly song the whole time we were recording it. And it's very much, you can catch that as soon as it starts playing. So it's fun, man. We have fun with it.
So you guys did a little run with Hawthorne Heights. I just wanted to let you know that I went and saw them last year on the acoustic run that they did, and fucking incredible guys. That band is awesome. So cool and so humble too on their journey. And I feel like they've done a lot as far as like building a movement for pop punk bands in each of these cities. The For Lovers tour that they do is just such an awesome event. Is that part of what you guys were a part of?
We never had the opportunity to do the For Lovers festivals. We submitted for them, but unfortunately there just wasn't enough room to put us on the bill.
Didn't we do one? We did one of them in Southern California, right?
I don't think so.
That one right after We Were Young Fest with like them and Red Jumpsuit and Escape the Fate. Was that not a For Lovers? I don't know.
That was not. That was just a different show at the amphitheater. But so we're gonna try again. If they have more of these shows, we're gonna keep trying to get on them. And those guys in Hawthorne have been so good to us throughout our entire career. We've shared buses with them and toured with them in the past. And JT particularly has also been like another mentor to us, who has just helped us kind of build our business and see the band from a business perspective versus just like going out there and being kids, not knowing what we're doing. So we owe a lot to that band for just throwing us a bone, because it doesn't happen a lot for us. And that's been really special. We always cherish that for sure.
I grew up in Ohio, so obviously.
Okay.
Cool. You gotta be a fan.
So I also want to talk about the vinyl, the Turn vinyl that you guys have. That was such a cool choice as far as like the splatter and the clear splatter. How did that process look for you guys? Is that something that you guys sit down in a room and say, we want to do a vinyl and we are going to sit down and pick how the vinyl looks? Or is that something that's picked for you guys and submitted to you as like, here are your options?
Yeah, that was through Enjoy the Ride Records. They actually reached out to us and said, we want to do a vinyl with you guys for this album. And Ross was the name of the guy that I was working with, and he's been fantastic ever since we've been in touch. And they basically spearheaded the thing. They came up with the designs, and I don't even remember if we ever really got a chance to say, yes, that looks great, or no, that doesn't. I think it was just this is cool. We're going to have something on vinyl. And what we're finding from these last shows that we did with Hawthorne and Mess is like people buy vinyl records at these shows now way more than the physical like CDs that you can get. And so we stopped bringing physical CDs and we just started selling vinyls, and it's amazing. Like, and it's super cool. Like you can make it almost like an art piece in your house, so it's got a lot of cool factors to it.
Check this in my studio. This is pretty cool. I have, as far as
there it is.
Oh wow!
There's the Turn, and there's our first record. The only two we have on vinyl. I wish we had the other ones. And then this is Scott Stapp's record that I played on that came out this year, and I tracked in the studio, so that's why I have it up. But definitely to have your own band on vinyl, like, just feels like it's an honor. So.
Oh yeah,
yeah, for sure.
I'm a big vinyl collector, so every band that I see that has a vinyl out, I'm like, I gotta ask about it. I can't show you, but on this wall behind me here, I have like some of like my classics. I've got like Dark Side of the Moon, Godsmack, one of my favorite records from Godsmack, and then like Jimi Hendrix, Abbey Road. But Hawthorne Heights, I grabbed that little 7-inch acoustic EP that they did. I love vinyl. So doing the splatter too is such a cool thing for a collector. Like, it's so cool when you open it up and you're not expecting it and you find out, oh, this is a color vinyl. So that's really cool. So you played with Scott Stapp. We gotta at least touch on it. That's such a big name drop, especially now.
And honestly, like, I totally want this to be about Amber Pacific, so I'll answer the question. Like, I've been with him a decade. Scott's been awesome. I've got to see the world, and especially with the resurgence of Creed coming back, like, it's been cool to watch that. People just love the guy. He's got these iconic songs that connect with the world, and he co-wrote every Creed hit, Arms Wide Open and Higher and My Sacrifice and What If, and so people just go nuts. It's the only artist I've played for where the whole crowd sings the whole set basically. And then he's put out all these solo records too, so I played on this last one, and he really pumps his solo stuff as well, and it's much heavier than Creed. Like, it's pretty in your face modern rock, and the current single Black Butterfly is in the top 10 on Active Rock Radio right now, so you could look that one up and you could hear what he sounds like currently with that. But people just want to hear the massive hits. They want to hear the stuff. So thankful I've done that this long and gotten to go all over the world and see South Africa and Brazil a couple times and Argentina. And the biggest show I've ever done was in Peru at a soccer stadium with him. And it was like us and the Cranberries and just all these like rock bands from the 90s. It was just a cool experience. So I'm so thankful. If I never did another show with him, I would still be so thankful that like I've had this in my career so long. So it's a cool thing. But with Creed Resurgence, like, they are just crushing it right now. So who knows? I don't know if he's going to tour solo. I'm not worried about it. Honestly, it's been a great time to have Amber Pacific stuff come up and to be able to do this record and not stress about being gone all the time. So I've still been in and out on the road with a few other people, but for the most part, it's been awesome to just be like, I'm home with family, working in town. And then when we have stuff come up, most of the time, it's not an issue. So yeah, that's probably like the most I would say about it.
How has working on country and being like in that country Nashville area, how has that influenced your playing specifically on this new record that you're putting out with Amber Pacific?
I would say a lot, actually, just because the older I've gotten, the less I've played, and I played a lot of what I've considered interesting drum parts on the first records, and I'm not saying these aren't, but I sort of toned it back from what people would expect from me and tried to come up with cool places to put stuff, but tried to just focus on how do I make the song the best, not how do I get a cool drum part in. When I was 23, 24, 25, I wanted everything to be fast and like, what's the coolest thing we can do as long as the song is still a hit or sounds like a hit. And now I've played so much country and pop and mainstream music, and you're like, the reason people love this because it's easy to listen to. And I'm not knocking metal, I'm not knocking punk, I'm not knocking anything progressive, but your mass appeal, which is country and rock and hip hop, everything is easy to sing along to and an easy beat to follow. And kind of I've just got to the place where I don't mind doing that. We're still going to have fast stuff, but a lot of songs on this record, especially Sean was good about helping me, like, you don't need to put that there, or just, what do you think? And I would just try to tone stuff back. So It definitely affected a little. I don't know how much of a difference you saw, Will, but I feel like it's noticeable.
It's very noticeable. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's parts where it's straight drums where you'd be like, I wonder why Dango isn't playing something different here. But then you listen to the song as a whole, and it's like, I get it. Sounds good.
Yeah, like a less is more type of deal with it.
Yeah, sometimes less is more. And in this scenario, we kind of played around with that idea a little bit more. For Dango, it was a big growth thing. Like it's the parts that he came up with are so cool in the first couple albums that we did. And so you miss it a little bit. But like he was saying, like he still found areas and parts of songs to still showcase his abilities and like what he likes to do and make things interesting. And it's just a perfect blend of the two worlds, which I think is something we've never done before. So,
I mean, if country's taught me anything, it's like everything is about the song, and a great song is a great song, and that's what sells it. It doesn't need anything more than a great song. And yeah, different genres, you want it to have big drum sounds or cool guitar riff or some metal shredding, whatever. But a great song is a great song. It doesn't. You could play it on acoustic guitar, you could play it with an orchestra, you could play it full band. It should still be a great song.
And when you're playing country music, and I'm not a drummer by any means, but I listen to a lot of music, the drums are typically a little more airy, right? It's like it's not as
it's not as technical. It could be considered more simple playing, but to be good at it's like anything. Like to be a great groove pocket drummer is just as hard as being a great rock or metal or whatever else. Like the guys that do it, that's more what I try to do, and that's why I get more studio work now, because I've learned to play stuff that fits the song in a lot of basic settings, I guess.
Right.
So that's what I would say. Because I mean, some of these country drummers in town, I consider some of the best guys in the world. Some of them are just unbelievable, and they can play all kinds of stuff, and they play perfectly for the song. So ultimately, I'd love to get to being one of those guys as well. Like that's part of my goal. But with Amber Pacific, if we ever have a day to go full time again, we'll all be thrilled. If we don't, we'll still be thrilled that we're putting out records and still getting to play shows. And because we've done it long enough, I think we're always going to be able to get festivals and shows every year. Like I think we're going to be able to do it if we're willing to. We may not want to get in a van or even a bus and be gone 100 days because we all have kids, but that's okay. I think it's still fulfilling if we're putting out music and people are still digging it,
That's at the end of the day, that's all that matters, man. So I want to touch on your guys' influences coming out of like that Seattle area, especially at the time that you guys came out. I feel like your influences could be so vast, you know what I mean? Like we're talking that early 2000s, you're coming right off the grunge movement. So what were some of the early influences on that first record?
Nothing to do with any of the Seattle bands.
Yeah.
Sure. But that's kind honestly, of what I thought was going to be the answer, to be honest.
I had a huge love for Boyz II Men and Mariah Carey growing up as a kid. Like I was very much into like hip hop and R&B stuff. And then I would say right around like 9th, 10th grade, one of my friends in high school showed me a band called Nerf Herder. And I was like, what is this? And then he showed me a band called Millencolin. And I was like, oh, what is this? And then I started like NoFX and then Bad Religion. And then all these little bands started jumping into my world. MXPX came up and I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. This is good stuff. And then the Drive Thru Records thing happened. And that was like the light bulb moment. It was New Found Glory, The Starting Line, The Early November, Senses Fail, like all of those bands. It was really what like kickstarted my journey as like a songwriter, and really thrusted me into like that genre, and I've been a fan ever since. But for Dango, it's a little different. He's got some different influences too.
Yeah, and I'm a couple years older than everybody else just because I was finishing college as they were all just out of high school. And I mean, in the 90s, I really came up on a lot of like Third Eye Blind and the alternative stuff, Goo Goo Dolls. I loved all that. But at the end of high school, I got super into MXPX, and they were like the band for me. They were super fast and catchy. And then I remember discovering Lagwagon and NoFX, and then I became a huge NoFX fan. And like two of my coolest drumming moments in my life are that I played with NoFX on the Warped Tour, got to sit in with them, and I've sat in with MXPX on the Warped Tour and like 3 or 4 other times. And being my 2 favorite punk bands, like to me, that's just, you can't live that stuff. It's just, you can't redo it. It's just amazing. And So I got into all the kind of Fat Records bands, sort of the older ones that were before Drive Through, because we were kind of touring when all the Drive Through stuff really was big. So we got to see that. And then we came up kind of the same time as Fall Out Boy getting big, and then Paramore, who opened for us on their first tour or second tour early on. We watched them blow up, and All Time Low was a band that we had a large part of impacting them and getting them signed to our label. So we kind of saw that surge of pop punk that we got to ride and be a part of. And I liked a lot of those bands, Yellow Card, Newfound Glory, a lot of that stuff, but not as much as those guys did then. And now when I look back, I'm like, man, we got to tour with some awesome bands, and I love all that stuff. So yeah, I was a little bit of the older pop punk, skate punk kind of Southern California stuff, Bad Religion and Pennywise and all those bands. But definitely, I mean, just as a whole genre, like I enjoy all of it, and I'm glad we got to be a part of all of it for sure.
Hell yeah.
And I'm still like, if I could play for U2 or Foo Fighters, those are still like my two stadium bands if I had a chance to play a show.
I have one more question I want to ask you guys, and then we're going to play this trivia game. I'm really curious on having such a large career in music. Are there any bands that you can think of like coming up right now that are like you want to look out for this band coming up? Is there anybody that you want to just kind of give a little shout out to say like, this is who I'm interested in these days?
Tell them.
There's a band called 408. I don't know if you can really say they're coming up because they've kind of arrived, but they toured with We the Kings already, and so they've gotten some good opportunities. But they got some pretty good music and seem like good dudes. So I would say that's a band that I've been listening to a little bit. And then Magnolia Park is also has already arrived, but they're a band that just kind of, for me, it was new. And when I listened to it for the first time, I was like, oh, dang, these guys are really, really good. And then they did this cover on the latest Disney cover album that all the punk bands did. Their cover of that song from the Goofy movie is just incredible. So
everyone's talking about that one.
Magnolia Park and 408s would be the two bands that I would say are doing great things right now.
Awesome. What about you, Dango?
I regret to say I couldn't tell you anybody new that's coming out. I love music, but I'm always learning. And today I was practicing new songs, and tomorrow I'm practicing new songs and playing gigs. So I just hate to say, because it's my work, I never have time to just go, I'm going to discover a new band today. I just don't do it anymore.
That's understandable.
I don't do it either, and it's not part of my job. If something pops up,
and you have to kind of go looking for it a little bit. You can't just it doesn't just show up.
Yeah, so, I'm set in my ways. My Spotify playlist is what I have.
Yeah, if I'm not scrolling to the bottom and looking for similar artists, then I would have never found a lot of these bands that I'm talking about. So yeah, you got to go searching for it if you really want to hear something new. But some things are just so good. It's why would I depart from that?
Well, and that's why I asked that question to all of the artists that I have on the show that have had extensive careers, because I'm always curious of what are these legendary musicians listening to? So yeah,
for me, it's the most beneficial to move off of the genre. So outside of Amber Pacific, I have a country playlist that I listen to at home, and obviously I've got my little kid who listens to all sorts of Ghostbusters and
oh heck yeah.
In fact, he's a big Linkin Park fan, which is kind of funny. So
nice.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I try to listen to, as a writer, you want to try to listen to as much as you can to draw inspiration from different genres so that your stuff doesn't always just sound the same all the time.
So, right.
In fact, there was a handful of songs that were country-esque that did not make this record that I really wanted it to, and maybe they'll show up again some other time. But I didn't get the support from the guys; they didn't like
it. There's this band that I saw play with Hawthorne Heights to just kind of bring that back up called Bike Roots. And I thought they were fantastic. And I think you guys would really dig them. They're very, very cool.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, they're really cool guys. And they're from, I think, New Jersey. But yeah, just really talented writer. As a writer, I think you'd really dig his stuff. He's very, very good at crafting words.
Okay, cool.
Anyways, it's going to be Will and Dango versus me today on this
Right.
90s trivia.
Whew.
Taylor's going to be reading the cards for us.
Sorry, I'm picking out some good ones.
That's fine. And we'll do it. So I'll let you guys go first. And then if you don't know it, I'll try and answer. And then we'll just keep bouncing it back and forth. And we'll see how we do.
I'm so bad at trivia games. Let's see how this goes.
Is this music from the 90s or just
Yes.
trivia? Okay.
This is all music.
Music trivia.
Oh,
I'll be
crap.
all right. Yeah. I'll be all right.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
lean on
I was
Dango.
gonna say,
Dango's gonna
Dango.
carry me
Yeah.
on this one.
All right, let's see. Are we all ready? Can you guys hear me
Ready.
okay?
Yes.
Awesome. What was the stage name of Andre Romel Young?
I have no idea who that is, Will, so I hope you got that one.
That the dude from Outcast?
No.
Andre
Do you want?
3000?
Andre 3000 is what I was gonna say.
That's what I was going to say.
That's
That
what
was my
everyone was
that
saying?
would have been my answer because I
You
have
are
no
all
idea.
collectively wrong.
I
Do you
have
want
no
me?
idea.
So they're A through D. Do you want me to throw out the options that they give?
Yeah.
A. Ice Cube. B. Dr. Dre. C. DJ Jazzy Jeff. Or D. Andre 3000.
We're
And
going
it
to
is
say
not-
Dr. Dre.
We're going
All right.
Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
I
I'll
am
go with
going
that.
Dr. Dre.
Dango will get it.
I
It is Dr. Dre.
think
Wow.
you should do the A through D on all of them.
I agree. It's just sometimes I can't read. It's a little
That's so
embarrassing.
funny. So that would have been a D for everybody. That was my initial like.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. Next.
Alrighty. Which band released the album Different Class in 1995? A. Radiohead. B. Smash Mouth. C. Pulp. Or D. Belle and Sebastian.
Oh God.
Who was the third band or artist?
Pulp.
Pulp.
I don't know who that is.
Ooh. Well, I guess this would be Harley's turn to answer, right?
I'm going to say Smash Mouth. But
You are
I didn't think that was the
I
name
would
of it.
I would also say Smash Mouth just based on the year.
I wasn't gonna say Smash Mouth. What were the other options? A, C, or D?
Radiohead, Pulp, or Belle and Sebastian. I
It's
don't
gonna-
know Belle and Sebastian.
I think it's gonna be C or D.
It's not Radiohead.
Yeah, for sure not Radiohead.
Are you going C or D?
I'm gonna go with C.
You are correct.
Yes.
What was he?
Pulp.
Pulp.
Yeah, I was excited when
For the
you guys
record,
said
I
something.
don't know who that is. I have no
Yeah, I'm
idea.
going to look them up after this because I also don't know who that is.
Can we also look up Belle and Sebastian?
Sure can.
Do
Yeah,
you guys know
seriously.
who that is?
No.
Okay,
idea.
cool.
Tough
Ooh, all
questions
right.
right off the bat. I thought they were supposed to be easy when we start, right?
Yeah, you would think so, and then they're off the wall like bands. Which Spice Girls video saw the group appear as animated fairies? A. Viva Forever. B. Say You'll Be There. C. Mama. Or D. Wannabe.
I've
Not
only
D.
heard the song Wannabe, so I'm gonna have to guess that.
It's not that one. They were actually people in that one.
They were actual people in that one.
I think, yeah, one of them had a green shirt on in that one. I think if I remember right. So it's A, B, or C.
Yep. A is Viva Forever. B. Say You'll Be There. Or C is Mama.
See, I don't even remember seeing a video for Mama. I'm gonna have to go with A.
Will knows these questions beforehand. He is correct. It is A.
Oh,
I was
Um,
also thinking.
Am I feel like I'm like, can you see them?
I cannot see them. I'm just really good at process
You're-
of elimination.
Me too.
He's
Yeah.
really good at Mariah Carey and
Oh, as soon as we
uh,
get one of those
the
questions,
Spice
we're good.
Girls.
The Spice
We're
Girls.
good. Yeah.
Britney Spears.
Backstreet
Oh,
Boys,
here-
bring it.
Here we are. The Foo Fighters formed in which U.S. city?
Nah, that's bullshit. That's a bullshit question.
This is your answer though, so it's good for you.
Oh yeah, hey, never mind. I'll take it. Seattle.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, how old was Britney Spears when she released her first album?
17.
Who said 17?
I did.
Will and Dango are on a team, right?
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
is correct. It was 17.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would support that. I was gonna say 16 or 17. One of the
I
two.
always think it's 16 and it's definitely 17.
Hit me,
17,
baby, one
okay.
more time. I remember that.
17.
Wow.
Alrighty. Which band was originally called Girls Time? A. Everything But the Girl. B. TLC, C. Destiny's Child, or D. The Spice Girls? Girls Time. And it's
Harley is on the
TYNE.
clock.
I am going to say Destiny's Child.
You are correct.
Oh,
It is
Mm.
Destiny's
that
Child.
was just the only one
that made
I,
sense.
No, that I knew.
Oh.
Besides, I think you said Spice Girls, but I was like,
You don't know who TLC is?
oh yeah, I guess I
No
do. Yeah,
Scrubs.
Waterfalls. Yeah.
I was definitely leaning towards Spice Girls on that one. Say so, I would have been wrong. There we go.
Yeah, you
I
were.
was going TLC.
Oh, see, we have 3 different answers.
Ooh, that's a good
Because
question.
we didn't know who A was. Who released their debut album, The Coming, in 1996? A. LL Cool J, B. Snoop Dogg, C. DMX, or D. Busta Rhymes?
DMX.
Is that your final answer?
I really don't know because I don't know these artists well enough to say. I just know that 96 is after the 2 big ones that you said.
Yeah,
I'm going with
that-
Busta Rhymes.
You're gonna go Busta Rhymes.
It's either
Will is
DMX or
correct.
Busta Rhymes.
I
Will
am?
is correct. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
He studied this game beforehand. Did you tell him?
I was just gonna tell you, like, I am horrible at trivia games. Horrible.
And-
So this is shocking to me right now. Absolutely shocking. Completely surprised.
In which year did Nirvana release "Smells Like Teen Spirit"? I'm not even
91.
gonna give you options.
I also That,
He got it.
91.
Dang, that's
91.
his
Well
answer.
known.
That was his turn. Okay, so
Yeah, it's a
No,
very
Will
well
is so nice about this. We kind of we're so competitive when it comes to things of being like, no, I did it.
that's not a speed game though. It was a our turn,
Yeah.
his turn. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be your
Yeah.
turn again now because Dango stole your answer.
That's
Mm,
fair.
You're just
That's
so
fair.
polite.
Sorry.
You're a really great dad. I'm assuming you have kids.
Of course.
He is a
Take
great
turn on
dad.
games. Who released "Around the World" in 1997? You're not gonna get this.
I bet you I get it.
Okay. The White Stripes, Daft Punk, Outkast, or Criss Cross?
Daft Punk.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This will be the last.
last one?
Yep.
Okay. This is a good one to leave off.
All right.
Dookie was the title of a studio album by which band?
This is too easy.
Come on.
It's of course Blink-182. Just kidding. It's Green Day.
Oh man. I think that puts us at Amber Pacific, one above me.
Were you keeping count? I just
Mhm.
assumed that Will was getting them all right, so they won. And Dango, with his like random knew it right off the bat knowledge, they absolutely swept you.
You know what?
Congratulations.
That was educational for the audience watching, so that was good. Everybody's
It
a
was.
winner.
We love an educational game.
Everybody's a winner.
Yeah. So before we hop off here, just want everyone to know that the new single is Sink or Swim. The band Amber Pacific. You can catch all of their stuff on all platforms at this point,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Like I said, I just want to go through a couple of my favorite tracks. Don't Let It Fall. Don't Let It Fall Through is one of my favorites from The Turn. Young Love on that is also a super solid song. And then Always You is like my golden years growing up. So please check out Amber Pacific. And is there anything you guys want to promote before we get off?
Dango, you first.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you having us. And to anybody that's still listening, we hugely appreciate you. Thank you for being a longtime fan. Thank you for sharing our stuff, putting us on playlists. If you've never heard us, please give us a chance. I think you would really love that we've got a sound that will reach a lot of people. And please, we're not great on the social media as a band. We're trying to promote stuff and get better. So we're kind of just at the age where we're trying to make time to run the band page when we can. So if you want to follow us, we will do updates from there. But this new record comes out in February, and you're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah, this new one is so good,
Mhm.
guys. I
Good stuff.
can't say it again. I really think this one is so good.
Thank you.
And if you guys figure out how to be good at social media, please let me know because I'm god awful at it also. So
Also, if you guys just need someone to post stuff, let me know because I can do that. I have
we-
Instagram, but I
we
also
do.
only know how to work Instagram.
Okay, that's cool. That's fair. Dango's been kind of teaching the rest of us how to do it. we've been learning on the fly.
Yep.
Funny story about Always You real quick. We were playing that on the Hawthorne run, and that song in particular was like getting the biggest response from the crowd out of all the songs that we were playing. And almost to the point where like we considered making it like the last song that we played over Gone So Young, which is what we've always closed with. Because it was like that cool, and like people singing Good Times Last Forever with us.
Yeah.
So it was really, really great. So maybe someday that might take over as the song that we close the show with. We'll see.
That'd
Heck
be awesome,
yeah.
man. Like I said,
I
I'm
don't
so
know why.
excited.
There we go. It's like my
you're
wife
back.
was calling. I'm not sure why I lost.
I thought he just left us for good. I
Yeah.
was like, that was rude.
Didn't
No,
even
my
say
wife
bye.
was calling, and I was actually hung up on her. So, but
Oh,
Oh,
Also
no.
rude. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Good luck.
So that couch is going to be super.
well, thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You
Yeah,
guys
this
are
was fun.
always
Thank you.
welcome back.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I truly.
I can't hear you. I lost your audio.
Oh,
Oh no.
You know,
That
if
means
you
that
guys
you
have a
didn't get my
message for
awesome
him, I'll
couch
call
together.
him afterwards and just convey it for you guys.
Yeah.
yeah, man. I've been a fan of you guys for so long. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been incredible.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Really, I
100%.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. This was a lot of fun. The trivia was a good part of it. So
Yeah, awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, take
All
care.
right.
Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy the holidays. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
too.
You too.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.
All right, everybody. So that was Amber Pacific.
Yes.
Truly incredible band.
Wonderful.
And we have to hurry up and jump off of here and get on the other
We have another one.
side.
So if you like today's video, go ahead and subscribe, give it a big thumbs up, hit the bell notification so we can notify every time we post a new video. Okay, bye.
Instagram, all that good stuff. It's been real, and
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Hook and Bridge podcast.